We could have talked about this in the video earlier today, but I wanted to spread things out, especially since this headline can be isolated by itself and still present a meaningful narrative. So today we're going to be talking about the Vancouver Canucks, we're going to be talking about the Philadelphia Flyers, and a potential complaint that the Vancouver Canucks might have sent out, not just to Philadelphia, but to the NHL itself. This is all coming off the heels of 32 Thoughts, the podcast, as spoken about by Elliotte Friedman the other day, and I'm going to leave a link in the description to this article on PhillyHockeyNow.com. Report, Western Conference team not happy with the rumors around the Flyers. And quite obviously, the article opens up by talking about the rumors. How Philadelphia has a coaching job open for business there with the dismissal of John Tortorella, and how Tocchet is one of the guys that everybody's kind of penciling in there. Hey, keep an eye out for Rick Tocchet. He's popular in that area of the USA. He's got connections with some of the higher-ups in Philadelphia. He was beloved there when he played for the Flyers. He had multiple stints with the Flyers. This is a match made in heaven. And when you think about John Tortorella, you think about the style of game that he likes to play for his players. Rick Tocchet plays a similar style to that, and he kind of had the Canucks playing a similar run-and-gun type of way, with more focus on north-south defensive responsibility and less focus on east-west maneuverability, dangling, high fancy plays, etc., etc. More straight-line, blunt, forced hockey. This article in Philly Hockey Now says this, that the Flyers are linked to a few different names as possible coaching candidates. However, no coach has more rumors swirling around him and the Flyers than Rick Tocchet of the Vancouver Canucks. Tocchet, the 23-24 Jack Adams winner, was an 11-year Flyer. It only makes sense given the Flyers' history of hiring former Flyers. According to Friedman on 32 Thoughts about a week ago, though, the Canucks are not happy about these links. His report says he believes the Canucks are displeased with the noise. Friedman said this on 32 Thoughts, "I think the Canucks have not been happy with the noise around Tocchet and Philadelphia. Between hearing some of that and what I said, I think the Canucks have made their displeasure quite clear, around the league and potentially to the Flyers and the league itself," Friedman said. "I think this is their way of coming out and saying Rick Tocchet is their coach." Friedman also said he believes the Canucks, yeah, you're gonna have to change that, it looks a little bit bad, are frustrated because Tocchet is still under contract. So, Friedman went out there and talked about Vancouver, complaining to the league and complaining to the Flyers, hey, there can't be any rumors about this guy, he's our guy, we still have him under contract, what are you talking about, Philadelphia? In a way, I'm starting to think about it like this is potentially why we saw all of those leaks come out about Tocchet a few days ago. Remember that conversation we had a few days ago about Bruce Boudreau and how the Canucks bullied, quote-unquote, Boudreau, and how Boudreau spoke out in the media later on saying that they were bullying Tocchet. Like, the fact that this song and dance is repeating itself from how the Canucks treated Bruce to how they're now treating Rick, where essentially the verdict is, hey Rick, whether you decide to re-sign here in Vancouver or not, if you are coaching in the National Hockey League next season, it's going to be with us because we have that option to exercise that forces you to stay with our team for at least one more season. Even if you don't sign and you don't come back long term, we will have you here for the next year. Which in a way is kind of pressuring the guy to signing because he wouldn't want to coach or be forced to coach for a Canucks team that he is not under contract with for the years after and that he knows he's going to leave because he doesn't have that contract the year after. It's some sort of mental warfare, bullying, pressuring the guy into saying yes type of thing, putting him in an uncomfortable position to say no, and I'm kind of thinking, because those comments came out, because we were hearing that the Canucks were going to utilize their option to use Tocchet if he didn't want to sign, thus invalidating any sort of Philadelphia link, Maybe those rumors were in direct response to all of the conversations surrounding Tocchet with the Philadelphia Flyers. If Friedman is saying here that, yeah, the Canucks were upset, they were complaining to the league, they were complaining to the Flyers, they were really ticked off that Rick Tocchet was getting linked to a separate team, that makes perfect sense to me. Why the Canucks would respond to that by kind of publicly saying, yeah, we're going to force you to stay here because we have the right to do that, Rick Tocchet. It paints this management in a really strange way that when you think about all the other stuff we had seen with Vancouver management over the past 12 months, gets a lot more fishy when you put all the pieces together. Patrick Allvin and Rutherford built a fantastic team in 2023-2024. You had a 100-point guy in Miller, 90-point guy in Hughes, 89-point guy in Pettersson. Besser had 70 points and 40 goals. The Joshua Garland pairing was unstoppable. Thatcher Demko was Vezina caliber, and Rick Tocchet won the Coach of the Year. It was a great team last season. But this year, from Elias Pettersson having this weird spot on the team where management was like, hey, Miller, go out there and make Pettersson better. Force that guy to be better. Push him to be better. And then the handling that they had of the Miller drama with Pettersson, how everything was leaked to the public, how Rutherford was making comments in the media about the feud, and how the team was being too cautious with how they were making their trades, and how they waited a long time to trade Miller, and that was an entire controversy in and of itself. How they handled the Nikita Zadorov conversation, how they let him walk and quote-unquote disrespected him. This is a tweet from Sekeres from yesterday. The question is, who deserves the most blame for this season? And he says management. Misses in free agency. Yeah, we can say that. Desharnais, Danton Heinen. They got Eric Brannstrom in a trade for Tucker Pullman. Okay, I can agree with that, but still, Brannstrom wasn't great. Daniel Sprong, also not great. How they mismanaged the JT-PD relationship, backward step on the Miller trade, they botched the trade deadline, hoping Allvin and Rutherford take responsibility at their year-end postmortem next week. If you ask players to be accountable, you should be too. And now, we're seeing management complain to the Philadelphia Flyers and the NHL that Rick Tocchet is being linked to other NHL teams, and their response to that is to leak that they're going to utilize Tocchet's option for keeping him around whether or not he wants to sign, thus putting him in another lame duck situation, which is the same thing that Bruce Boudreau was subjected to all those years ago when the Canucks also disrespected him. Not to mention the Brock Besser comments where they were saying that Brock is not going to fetch a reasonable return in a trade and that they couldn't make the trade because they'd have to walk out of the room if they revealed the offers. This management is really interesting. And I'm not going to come to any conclusions here. I'm just laying out all the stuff that we had seen for you to come to your own conclusions in the comment section of this video. But to end this off, I guess we could go back over to the Philadelphia Hockey Now article. It makes sense that the Vancouver Canucks are unhappy with the Tocchet rumors, it says. They have been solely speculation. Tocchet's playing time in Philly, the status of his contract, and his coaching abilities create an obvious match. His contract expires at the end of the season, however, the Canucks do have the option to retain him because they just want to. There's been no tampering reported, but it makes all the sense in the world that the Canucks would not be happy with the situation. They're eliminated from postseason contention, but when the rumors began, they were still in the hunt. That played a role in their displeasure. It can't feel good hearing that your coach might run off to a different job at the end of the season. Numerous people, including Friedman, have reported that Tocchet is still in Vancouver's long-term plans, even with the down season. And that is something we have heard too. Quinn Hughes loves Tocchet. The Canucks management love Tocchet. It's just the team that he was given was not really all too great. And you think about the D-core and how Noah Juleson, Desharnais, these guys were forced to play significant roles. Carson Soucy was on the team. I feel like if Canucks defense was just a lot better for the first half of the year, they probably would have still been contending for a playoff spot now, even with the JT Miller and Elias Pettersson drama. But that's just me. That's just one of the things that I think we can discuss when it comes to this Canucks management and the team that was assembled and how Rick Tocchet plays into it all. But I want you to let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about the Canucks' frustration in this situation? How they complained to the Flyers and the NHL that Rick Tocchet's name was swirling around Philly, the city of brotherly love, in pretty sizable rumors over the past few weeks. Thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this British Irish Rolls 99. And bye.